And we are live.
Are we?
Are we?
Gentlemen, how are we doing?
How are you doing, Dylan?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I've been,
I'm really glad.
well, thank you. I've been diving deep into Grand Blue for an update for the viewers and really enjoying it. Would definitely recommend it to anybody who wants to get lost in
10 out of 10.
a game. Yeah.
We talked about it last week. I'm so glad you're still playing it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's,
That almost sounded sarcastic.
No, I'm
so glad you're still playing that.
I was actually going to riff into
Wow.
one of the topics I wanted to discuss tonight about the ether and world and energy synergy.
The ether.
Let's all snap our fingers for this poetry. But first, so you're still jamming out with that. What are you playing? DLC still for Elden Ring?
No, I've beat it twice now, and so I'm good to take a
You're
break
good.
from Elden Ring. Radon, I beat him the second time around.
Nice.
Nice.
Same
So
strat.
I think I might have oversold it a little bit. I just think that you have to have a very specific way you approach it.
Were you fully Shadow Treed?
And I was fully, I'm probably over leveled. It was new game plus 3, and I was level 220. And so
Yeah, at a certain point, levels don't matter if you get all the soft caps.
and so I used the same strategy. I didn't change it up because I didn't want to. I just wanted to get it over with because I did all of the DLC, and I was like, I don't want to. I didn't want to waste my time for hours trying to beat it a different way. I just wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
So yeah, did that, beat that. Now, gaming wise, not much is going on. I'm just kind of excited for a few things that are coming out, like movie wise. But Deadpool's gonna be
That's
good
this Friday.
That's this Friday?
this Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are we not
Have you guys
going?
seen the last trailer? It was a much more serious trailer.
I didn't
It didn't
see
have
that.
like comedy in it really. And it was like Wolverine
Focused?
focused trailer.
Oh.
It was actually a really good trailer. I'm excited. We'll see what it does. I haven't had a lot of faith in the overall connected MCU in a while, so I don't know if I'm still kind of on the edge on as far as like whether or not I'm gonna fully be into MCU, but this movie does look good.
Yeah, this to me doesn't feel like an MC. It doesn't feel MCU. It's just
According to
sort of
Kevin
like a Marvel.
Feige, he says in terms of impact on MCU, if Infinity War and Endgame were level 9, level 10, this would be a level 8.
Jesus, okay.
That's what he said.
All right, well, we might see the whole thing spin on its head. I'm not going to see this to that. I love Deadpool, so I'm going to
It
go
just,
watch
regardless,
watch
just
Deadpool.
looks like a good movie.
Yeah.
You don't have to look at it and be like, how does this impact?
Yeah. What's the greater narrative? Yeah, I think this is the great reset for them. So, well, we'll be checking it out. That'd be fun.
Yeah. You?
Doing anything other than Gilwer's fucking 2, baby.
No. Did that just come out?
Dude, it just came out. It just
How
came
many
out
hours? Like 2?
10 years ago.
2,000?
And man, 12 years ago now, and it is so good. New expansion comes out in a month.
I know that all our fans have eagerly been waiting to hear your review before they start playing this game because
Yeah,
they
it's
want,
big. They've been waiting 12
It's
years.
been big.
they waited 12 years for this moment.
Yeah.
Let them have it.
It's coming. The full retrospective, full breakdown analysis
Of base
it's not.
game and all the
every fight in the game. No,
We're going to go step by step. So first, when you start the game,
character
you're actually-
creation.
Let me tell you this. So I've come back to the game over the past 2 months now. I took an 8-year break. 8-year break, and there is
Little
so
instances of just checking it out here and there, or just not at all.
very, very little instances of that. So like with this kind of game, like you can't. It's his cat. Like I've come back and I'm already like doing all the new content and stuff like that. So you don't lag behind in terms of like gearing or progression or anything like that. What you lag behind in is like the quality of life stuff that comes out, because that's really the chase in Guild Wars 2 is like there's different armor stats, and different armor stats do different things to gear your character. And so like ascended armor is the top tier gear that you can get. But you can also achieve legendary armor, which I had before I quit. I didn't have before I quit, but I I got shortly after or whatever. But
Yeah.
anyway, basically what it allows you to do is it introduces this massive quality of life benefit, which is with Ascended gear, you choose the stat, you craft it, and you choose the stat that you want for it. And that's it. That's your stat. So you're kind of
You get
locked
to choose
in.
it, or is it
You
random?
get to choose it. You get to you craft it. So
Okay.
you're choosing your path. So if you want to be like
Imagine that in gaming.
power,
nowadays.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
there's
not
not
random.
no
RNG?
gotcha. Yeah, you have to spend this currency, which you can only earn through the cash shop, and it gives you a better chance to roll for that gear. And so, yeah, you want a higher roll on power stat? No, none of that shit. Which is why I love this game so much. Like their ethics in terms of how their cash shop works is so on par.
So before I forget, it's a little side tangent. You
Yeah.
reminded me of something in Grand Blue that I think is hilarious. So they have the RNG thing, right? But it's not like you don't use currency that you buy from the store. But the funny thing, so in order in Grand Blue, you create these sigils, kind of like the armor modifiers he was talking about. Has your stats, and that's like the end game is like you're trying to get good ones. They're randomized. You can order them, but get this: the game lets you save. So you can load if you don't like what you got and just do it again. And it re-rolls.
It
It's
sounds
like-
exactly like Baldur's Gate.
I was gonna say like Baldur's
You
Gate,
fail
like
a roll.
the whole like saving and save
Yeah.
scumming on a roll just defeats the purpose of the chance. 'Cause
Yeah.
let's be honest, anybody who's played Baldur's Gate, you have not played it truthfully. Everyone
Yeah.
has at least save scummed at least once to
Unless
get a
you
better
play
outcome.
like honor mode or whatever.
How far back
Yeah.
am I willing to go? I failed this. Yeah.
I got into a habit where I saved before every single roll without fail.
So
Anyways.
the Ascended gear, the way like you basically like if you're going to be a power DPS build, generally you'll build what's called Berserker, which is like you get power, you get precision, which gives you a higher crit chance, and then ferocity, which is a higher crit damage. And so the whole idea is you get your character to maximum power, you get your character to 100% crit chance, and then maximum crit damage. So like you're always critting, you're doing a lot of extra crit damage because of your ferocity, and then your power is maxed out, so everything scales off of the power. So that's the idea if you want to do like damage stuff like that. But let's say like a build comes out a year later or whatever, or you want to play a new class, or whatever, and you want to play that as condition. Well, the really cool thing about every tier, so there's exotic, which is extremely easy to get for new players. Like you could be geared out in 5 seconds with starting a new account if I gifted you gold. It's
Shouldn't
so
it
easy.
be called common then?
No. But you could go on the
Not
shop
necessarily
and
exotic.
it's so
Yeah.
accessible. It is so accessible. So you could buy your full set of exotic. Ascended is about, it's like 5 or 10% better. So it's just a little bit better. But what's really cool is exotic is soulbound. So it's to your character. Ascended, a little bit way harder to get, but it's account bound, and it's only tied to that armor class. So you have light, medium, and heavy, and there's three professions in each one. So like if you were playing a ranger and then wanted to switch to a thief, or why am I blanking on the other?
Just somebody that shares the same armor
Elementalist?
rating.
Yeah, well, they're light armor. So you got like Elementalist, Mesmer, and Necro. Those are all light. You could swap the armor. So like
Right.
if you were playing like a power build on your Mesmer and you switch to Ellie, you could theoretically move your gear over and you would have your Ascended gear and it would all be power stuff and you'd be great to go. It'd be perfect. But if you wanted to maybe switch it to like a healer build, or you wanted to be a boon, like a quickness or an alacrity, which is like all boons that buff your damage and stuff like that. You wanted to be a part of that part of the game, or you want to play that style, or you want to have a condition damage build, right? That's a huge part of the game as well. You would have to then take that Ascended armor and like stat swap everything. So you have to stat swap everything. And so it's kind of clunky, but it can be done, and it just requires some time because you have to get the recipes and kind of craft it all, and then and resources to stat change. Legendary armor, and this goes for any legendary anything, you can stat swap at the click of a button. So legendary is like even more of a jump from exotic to Ascended in terms of level of effort, but once you get there, the quality of life is like, oh, it's
Chef's
so
kiss.
good. When you just click on it and shift everything in your build, and you're just like, all right, I'm ready to go. Like I can play. I have the best stats. I have the best in slot gear, and now I get to play this class at like at the highest level. So coming back, like that's been in the game since I quit. So like,
Yeah.
there's not like, oh shit, I'm way behind in gear. But what they have come out with is there's always been like what's called trinkets, which is like additional like rings and accessories and backpacks.
No.
And these all have stats on them too. And they've never had anything legendary for that. Coming back to the game now, after all these years, they've added all those over the time and the expansions.
Can you?
So
how many
now I
rings
have to
can you get?
You can have 2 rings. You can
Damn
have
it.
2 accessories
We
and
have
1
10
backpack.
fingers.
I wanted. I was hoping you could get.
I did not want, dude. The collections for these rings is mind blowing. Like, I'm telling you right now, I probably I've this is how geeky I get when it comes to these games. I've already built a whole spreadsheet. Okay, I have
sounds
a
about right.
whole spreadsheet of all the content that I need to do, and broken down of like here's the things I need to check off to even have the ability to craft this. Okay, and I'm probably looking at roughly 800 to 1,000 hours of gameplay to collect these 6 items that I need. Now, obviously, like
6 items.
Yes, I'm not grinding only those things, but like those are
It's like over 100 hours an item.
dude. It's like an achievement level thing that I like. As I play the game and collect the currency and stuff like that, I will then unlock those abilities.
That's just the level of gaming I've never been able to.
But it's not like you log on. You're like, okay, I got to grind for that. That's not like these things come like passively as you play through all the content. Because
Over the course of 800 to 1,000
Yeah.
hours.
Because yeah, exactly. I have like 8 years of content and all these
Right.
maps with their own vendors and currencies and collections that I have to go through that people have been able to play over the 8 years. I haven't done any of that. So when I say I've intermittently played the game, I truly mean like I probably averaged 5 minutes a quarter on the game. Like I would log in to collect a login reward and get off. You know, that was like all I was doing. So, but anyway, this brings me into my very first question for you guys. And I think I've...
No.
No, okay.
I don't agree.
What was your opinion? Okay, cool.
I think
I got my collar popped here and you guys haven't said a damn
I was
thing.
going to reach over and be sensual about it, but, you know.
You got to help a brother out. This is one thing, and I think this is... I feel like I'm Donald Trump.
Yeah, you were
What am I
doing
here with the hands?
the finger thing.
So
I've never met someone that could sell something like you do. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you're talking about. You could be
It's so
literally be talking
passionate.
about Coke Zero Sugar. You could be like,
so
you could look at
impassioned.
it and say, this Coke, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, mind blowing.
And we'd be like, we're in.
Absolutely. They try
All
like
right.
this guy's on Coke. He's on Coke. I think I've really dialed in why I like to play the way that I do in terms of the longevity with certain games.
Okay.
One, there's like a skill level that comes with the game. Like I've probably put, since coming back to the game in the last couple months, I've probably put in anywhere from like 100 to 200 hours in the game. I've been pretty heavily playing.
Okay.
And I'm still like nowhere in terms of like my skill is pretty decent, but what I'm not. What up, Cole? How we doing, baby? My skill is pretty decent, but I'm still having to learn like all the encounters. Every encounter is totally different.
Yeah.
Like you got to learn the mechanics and stuff like that. So I'm still getting better and more familiar with that. But my question to you guys is, because you guys are like what I would probably consider as like a multi-gamer, right? Where you go and you play a game and you get something out of it for 20, 30, 40, 50 hours, and then you move on and you play another game. I get left with, I feel like empty when I do that. And I wanted to ask you guys, how do you feel with it? Like when you get to a point with Elden Ring DLC and you just can like put it down and you're like, I'm good with that now. And you move on. How in your mind, are you like fully satisfied and like, hey, I'm glad I got that experience or that story or whatever? Because let me preface it with how I kind of see how I play games. Because again, just for history purposes, I played Guild Wars 1 for like 5,000 hours, and now I've played Guild Wars 2 for about 3,000 hours. And so I really enjoy being able to play a game and be rewarded. Like there's like this world that exists, and it's a live world. It's a live service game. It's a live world that I can come back to, and all of my achievements and all my successes are still relevant, right? Like if I look at a game like Hogwarts Legacy, right?
Yeah.
I went in and I pretty much like 100% of the game. I beat the whole thing. I did a bunch of the collection stuff. I did all the side quests and stuff like that. And I had a really good time playing it. But that's a game I'm never going to play again. Let's just be real. Like I probably am never going to return to that game. So it's some part of me, I feel like that's 50. I think I put like 50 hours in that game. Just gone forever. And just like, there's nothing ever to really show about it. Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing really to like show for it. Versus when I come into this live service world, in this MMO world where there's a community, I can come back to my characters and play them and see my skill ramping up. There's like that continuity piece. Like even going back to Guild Wars 1 where it's still alive and there's people there playing the game and socializing. Like I still feel like, oh, it was not all for naught. Like there's something about having like my successes, my achievements, the things I've unlocked, the skins, the story content, the gameplay, the achievements, whatever it might be, the weapons, whatever it is that I can go back to and be like, yeah, it's really cool. And it's still in a live world. There's still people playing it. There's still people that care about this.
Right.
Versus like Hogwarts Legacy, like I said, I'm never going to go back to. And in some sense, I feel like that's like wasted time. Even though I enjoyed it, like a part of me is like, never going to have there's nothing to take away from that. I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you guys get that feeling at all? Like, do you feel empty after finishing a game, or is that really just a me thing?
You want to go first, Kyle?
You can go first.
Okay.
No.
Yes, but I also think I view games a lot differently. Like, I'll get the emptiness, but it's more of like my addiction. Like, I need my next hit.
You need your next hit.
And it doesn't, with games, for me, like Elden Ring, it's not immediate whole. It's, I finish it, satisfied, feel good. Then like the next, couple days pass or whatever, I'm busy. But the next moment I have free time and I go to play a game, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm done with Elden Ring. What am I playing now? That's when I kind of feel the hole. But I don't view games as a community like aspect, and I don't expect them to last forever. And so like that's pre-programmed into my head of like, I am doing it for my own satisfaction of getting this armor so that I can play with it. And then once I'm done playing with it, okay, I move on.
Yeah.
And I never really like with Destiny, I did not like playing multiplayer with people I didn't know. Like I didn't
Right.
care. I'm like, and then
Yeah.
I didn't really care as like, I want my guy to look like this so that everybody knows. No, it's like, I want my guy to look like that because I think he looks cool.
Well, to that point, there's literally people that AFK in Guild Wars 2 to have their characters shown off.
Wow.
Yeah, there's people that will run their computer just because they want their character in that world to show off to other people.
Damn.
That's a very real thing.
Yeah. So I just as a game, I think my mindset is different of I approach games a lot more one-off. But I love New Game Plus, and I love a game that can keep me engaged. Like with what I'm playing with Grand Blue, I'm a little sad. I wish it was live service because it's like the current grind they have out is like perfect for my brain right now, and I know it's gonna end, which is kind of sad. I'm like, I don't want to reach the end. I know there's a max.
Yeah.
See, that's the feeling that I'm exactly talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah, that idea of like, oh, there's nothing on the horizon. Like that's it. We're done.
Yeah,
forever.
it doesn't make me feel like it's wasted though. It just makes me feel like, damn, I hope I
There's
hope
more.
they keep adding. I hope they do something else, and then I'll forget about it. Like after a while, I'll just honestly,
Yeah.
So I want to hear your opinion on this, and then I'm going to add a twist to
Okay.
the whole thing. So go ahead.
twist.
I do think that you bring up some valid points about feeling satisfaction, not feeling satisfied when there's no end game content, and potentially feeling like, yeah, it was fun, but like ultimately what do I have to show for it? Like I get that. But my brain is just wired so different from you. Like it's not even funny. Like if you ever fucking brought me a spreadsheet while I'm gaming, I would say get the fuck out of my living room.
Dude, I told my wife, I was like, I'm gonna go build
gaming.
this
Sometimes
spreadsheet.
it feels like you treat gaming like a job, and like that. I look at like charts and data like all day, like for work, and that's the last thing I want to do. So when I game, I'm not a completionist. We've learned this before, but like I could play a game for 200 hours, and there'll be stuff I don't even bother to complete because I don't care. Like I don't need everything in the game.
Yeah.
I don't need all the achievements. I don't need every weapon. I will literally find something I like and just carry that with me forever and never change my style. I look at gaming in the same way that I look at a good movie. If it's like a movie that I found enjoyment out of, I don't consider that time wasted. I consider that a plus to my life, and I might go back and I might play it over and over again because I really like it, like Mass Effect. Yeah. I beat it so many times, and I play it almost the same way every time. But to me, it's a really good story. The only time I've ever felt empty after the end, where I felt like, man, that was not something that I feel like I should have wasted my time on, is if the game doesn't have a good story. And that is way more important to me than any other aspect. Like I could play a game with shitty mechanics, shitty gameplay, not fun gameplay, but if the story is top notch, that overrides everything for me. I will put up with a bad game with a good story any day of the week. If it has great gameplay, great mechanics, but it has a terrible story, it's actually going to be hard for me to finish it. I literally can't bring myself to do it. And so that's so like
foreign to you.
Yeah, that's like your thought process is just, it's very alien to me. And I can't wrap my head around it.
I'm a little bit of a psycho too, because when like I play Guild Wars 2, basically on mute, I skip every single cutscene, and while I'm playing the story to unlock the stuff that because the story gatekeeps some of the mastery stuff.
Every single cutscene on mute.
Yeah, I basically and
Me and Kyle were like,
and I'm watching. And what's funny is like Guild Wars 2 has like a really good score, like music wise. People always love it. And I haven't heard any of the music basically, but
nice.
But literally, I'll be playing through the story, and this is where I'm a psycho. Is like I will be knowing like all the stuff that I want to get to. I will be watching or planning out like the most efficient method to be like doing those things like in the mandatory cutscenes.
Oh, I know.
So I'm like building.
You ever try to play Diablo with this guy?
Yeah, you guys are lagging through the dungeons. I'm like, keep the fuck up. This is an efficiency game.
I'm like watching all the cutscenes, and I look, and you're like, oh yeah, I left.
Clear the dungeon.
I escaped that 20 minutes ago. I'm done.
Got the highest mobility on there. So yeah, I'm a bit of a psycho in that. But so here's the twist, I guess. So for every reason, I just was thinking about this. So the metaverse, we're gonna go back to that. The metaverse tried to attempt to solve this, where I don't know how it would have came out to be, but like let's say in this meta world, you would have your basically treasure trove of achievements, and then somehow those would be valued by the community around you. And so like the idea is, in this metaverse, like we were hanging out, I could be like, oh dude,
Ready Player One,
you summoned Radon in Elden Ring's DLC. That's amazing. Or, like, and you have these achievements. So it's a way of, instead of kind of keeping it in this chest, it's locked away separate from, the rest of the world. It's a way of like bringing that forward and having people kind of value that. But I guess you would never value it if you've never played the game, right? So
yeah. I've never really cared about, don't get me wrong. I can look at somebody doing something that I know is tough and know is hard and be like, wow, I appreciate it. And I can appreciate that and be like, that's awesome. Like even if it's a game I don't play, like I can appreciate the skill level that I can see that it would take to pull something like that off. But I've never been a gamer to show off. I've never felt the need to be like, man, I did this and this. That's just not who I am as a gamer.
I don't know if it's like to show off.
Maybe
but like
show off
to,
is
to
too strong.
to
but
feel. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's more like, I guess the perspective I'm coming from is like to have it valued, not like monetarily, but just like where someone maybe who engaged in that content can appreciate it with you. But because instead of it like happening or occurring in those universes, like in the world of Guild Wars, it would happen. Like you get to have that shared experience like outside of it. And I thought that was kind of a cool concept. Who the fuck knows how that actually gets played out? But I would like, I don't know. It'd be kind of. I would hope to think that like the servers, because if the servers ever turn off for Guild Wars, like I've got nothing, nothing. That day, the day that comes, I'll be depressed because I now
We'll have
I
to come over.
now I have
dressed in
nothing
black.
to show up.
I think there's
I have
something
nothing to show. You know what I mean?
earlier you mentioned you're
What
like,
game I played.
I liked, earlier you mentioned you're like, oh, I liked Hogwarts Legacy, but I put about 50 hours into it. I thought it was fun. But now I look at it back and I'm like, I don't know if I'll get like, I don't know if you said it like this, but you're like, I don't know if like that time meant anything.
Yeah, it's along the right lines.
I could almost feel that could apply to anything. Like, and I don't think there's any wrong way to game. So me saying this about like people that are in MMOs, it's not to put them down. It's just because I'm wired different. But I think that someone who spends thousands of hours on one game, if I were to do that, that almost feels like I'd be wasting my time. Because I'm like, I spent 3,000 hours on this one game and I missed out
on all the other stuff.
All this content because I was so focused on this one game. So I'm almost the opposite, where I would look at that and be like, that was a waste of time for me.
Interesting.
And so I don't know. I think it just depends on the player.
We have this is why this podcast is so good, because it's such a diverse like experience,
Like I would be like yeah, Guild Wars has been out since 2012. Guild Wars 2, and there are people that have done nothing but play that daily since it launched. If I was in that position and then one day like I realized what I had done, I would look and I'd be like, I missed out on Red Dead. I missed out on, Zelda. I missed out on all the Uncharted. I missed out on like all of these things. And I would start looking and I would get sad about that. And it'd be like, I could have experienced all these other different stories, but instead I was so focused on this thing that I missed out.
Yeah, I've been watching the same movie
I've been watching the same movie
years.
daily.
Yeah.
Rather than
versus all the other
and that's why I don't think
there.
I could ever I can appreciate and enjoy an MMO in small doses compared to like most I've ever put into an MMO was like maybe like 300 hours, and that was in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Which is nothing compared to what some people put into these things. And I think that is about the max I'd ever be able to put into. And that's why I'll never be like an elite MMO player, because that's about as much as I could commit before I'm like, I need to move on to something else.
Well, and that's why I enjoy them so much, is because there's so much content to do. Like I said, I've already been back for like 200 hours, and I have so much left to do and learn that it's unbelievable. And the Guild Wars 2 is not even comparable to WoW. WoW, if I quit WoW for 8 years, good fucking luck. If you started WoW from scratch right now, I don't even know where you would start. You probably have 15,000 hours of content, and I don't even know if that like includes any of the rating stuff. Like to get seriously.
What's the story? That would be me,
right? Like I don't even know how many. You've got like 14 expansions or some shit, like with monthly releases every. I don't even know how you would have to dedicate a life to that. And that's what, like, I love the ability to play this game, hone my skills, get better gear, learn the best strats, learn how to maximize my class, and then do the pinnacle content, which is like the most challenging, group content and stuff like that. And so it's funny to talk about the differences there. So did you have a last comment before we move on to our main subject tonight?
I was gonna say this was a while back when you were saying like meta, they want to add the achievements or whatever. It reminded me of Ready Player One. That'd be the only time I'd be interested, is if like I could like summon some type of, Gundam and pilot it in the metaverse, then yeah, that would be cool. And it would be for me. It wouldn't be like, guys, look what I got. No, I'd be like, I want to fucking pilot
So
this Gundam.
because you've unlocked it in the game, now you have it in.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
And then I could sell it to people.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I wasn't really looking at it from a monetary standpoint, but I think that meta definitely was is some kind of exchange of these things. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think it could be. We just enjoy games so differently, and it's just kind of awesome how we all kind of fall into our niche. I spent like 4 hours on this spreadsheet, and I was so juiced up about it. I'll have to show you it.
You gotta find the right crowd
Dude,
to appreciate that.
And I'm not even done with it. I still have the two.
I can appreciate the
accessories about.
dedication, but like I said, you bring your spreadsheet into my gaming.
Walks over
How dare you disrupt my fun time
while you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2. He's like, so Kyle, the horse you want to use is actually the white horse because as you can see here, it goes 2% faster. So, and you're like,
I am currently not getting paid.
yeah.
And what's funny is like I am missing the part of the brain that like when I see the reward on the screen, like, oh, sweet, we got the, like I feel like there's definitely that hit of dopamine that gaming companies try to get into when they see that flashy, shiny chest or whatever. And Guild Wars 2 definitely does that, but I don't have that part of my brain.
What?
I only feel the reward when I get the end item, which is the quality of life boost. All the stuff intermediate is just like, all right, get the fuck out of my way. Next, what's next?
I
okay,
feel
get
like
the fuck out of my way. What's next?
That's like a part of gaming culture though that I think most people have gotten over that. Like they kind of flood the market with those
I see.
here's an award, but like certain games, like one I think does it really well is like Zelda. But that's because you don't have a
They
bunch
were
of
the
chests.
OGs.
Yeah, and the chest, the chest you get
That's so
usually
true.
has really good stuff. Versus we're used to games now where it's like, oh, this chest has 50 gold.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
You're like,
you know?
oh, I got this much acclaim. Like, what does that even
Yeah,
mean?
so
I don't even know what that currency is. Yeah.
I think a lot of people
It's
feel
overdone.
that way.
I don't even
of
pay
just-
attention to stats when I'm gaming. I
It's all
really
about
don't.
that fashion.
I literally don't. I will I'll play
Whatever
a game,
feels good.
whatever looks good.
Oh God,
That
the
is-
worst. The worst.
That is the only way I game. I even, to an extent, I even play Elden Ring like that.
Dude, so I have.
I'm much more about how I look. The
Elden
only
Bling.
time I actually break down in Elden Ring and I'm just gonna, I have to play this is when I'm on like a really tough boss. And I'm like, okay, I have to play this a certain way. But other than that, I just dress what I think looks cool. I don't pay attention to the armor. I don't pay attention to any of that.
So I have full legendary armor, and the pants are like a skirt kind of thing. So it's the first time I've ever played a female character. I've actually just rolled a new Mesmer playing as a virtuoso, and the pants are like a skirt almost. But it affects my ability to see the stuff on the ground. So I'm wearing full legendary armor, but I've swapped out because you can transmog in the game. I've swapped out the look of the legs for like the starter pants because they're the tightest. They're like the thinnest on the body that I have unlocked, and I can see more visually like what's happening under me. And you know how much I give a fuck? Not at all.
I wouldn't be, if I had to,
You could.
That
You have
bugged
to
me.
match.
if
Yeah.
I would bug the hell out of me if I was wearing two different types of armor.
And
I would have to transmog the whole set
Yeah.
to match if I did that.
Tell me, Kyle, does this bug you in Elden Ring that the metal doesn't match? It's different sheens on the armor, so you can't mix and match.
Yeah, it's hard to mix and match.
Yeah.
In that game, it make it difficult because nothing really quite clicks. There's some things that click better with others.
Yeah, like a
but
certain metal will be like a bluish steel, and the other's like a brown steel, and you're like, well, those don't go together.
Imagine they added a whole like dye system where you take like raw fruit and you craft it into like a red
I would be
dye
down.
and then you dye
Say
the
less.
blade.
I would play it right now. I'd go play so I can do it, and I'd be like, yes, finally.
they've had dyes. I remember in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood they had dyes, and when I like first discovered that, like that was the first game where I was like, you could change the colors of these armors, and that's so basic now compared to what they have now. But yeah, no, I just I game solely for the experience of experiencing a good story. The experience of experiencing.
Wow.
Ah, yes.
I game solely for
Well
the
said.
good story.
Well, let's dive into our headline.
Mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, Elden Ring.
Gameplay definitely. I know
Elden
for
Ring's
you,
more about lore.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Gameplay has a big
let
effect on you
me
still, for
preface.
sure.
I mean, obviously, yes. If it has a great story, bad gameplay, I'll still play it. But like, good gameplay does go a long
Elevate it.
way.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, I'm not
yeah.
saying that. Just ignore that factor. You know.
Well, let's dive into our headline topic then tonight.
Oh,
so
finally?
There's
After half hour.
after 27 minutes. So there was college football, EA college football 2025 or whatever dropped. Okay.
Sick.
EA makes a college football game.
They do.
It's just for the first time it came out this year.
Okay.
Okay. It came out, it was reported this week that 2.2 million people bought the 3-day early access pass, which was $30.
Fuckers.
Damn.
So they generated
$10 a day.
yeah, so exactly. So EA generated an additional whatever $68 million
On early access.
by doing zero coding effort, no developer lift, nothing. My question to you guys is: we saw this with Diablo, which we all ended up actually participating in,
Yeah.
and somehow we were blinded to the fact that like the release could have gone really, really fucking bad, and it didn't. Thank God, because we had a great time. That
Well, they
weekend.
had
That
the
was a lot of
server
fun.
slam before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
were
there was things
multiple-
to me, and it was
yeah.
Blizzard, which you could take both ways with some of their Overwatch 2 launch and shit like that. Who knows?
They
But-
had multiple server slams that
made
that
your-
fared
boosted
well.
your
You
confidence,
know,
right?
yeah.
and it wasn't flawless, but it was pretty fucking good. My question to you is: your guys' thoughts on it? More power to them, or are you like these greedy bastards? I hate everything about it, and they should be sued. I mean, where are you guys at? Somewhere in the middle, obviously, probably. But my personal take, while you guys think of that,
I know what I'm.
oh, you okay? Go ahead.
I feel like maybe we're gonna be in the same boat, but me personally, I am not a fan of like wasting my money per se for 3 days. As a business, if
It's
you're
a
making money on
no-brainer.
that, then fucking do it. Like
It's a no-brainer, right?
yeah, like
And you know, like I don't. So this is where
they're not forcing anyone to do that.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
If these guys are addicts, like $68 million.
Just because I don't believe in that product doesn't mean that's not a smart business choice
Yeah.
to make a ton of money off of that.
It might not. I don't know how the math works out. It might not be 68, but it's like it's over $60 million. that they
$12s of
brought in.
dollars.
Yeah,
It's like
Right?
some random.
it's almost as much as this podcast generates.
Almost, but
almost not quite.
They wish.
Rogan wishes
Spotify.
he could keep up with us.
Spotify's looking for a deal. But no, I'm in the same exact boat, and to me, I don't see it as any different from like an early access than what Baldur's Gate did, which was they released their alpha state or their pre-access, 2 years in advance. I mean, Baldur's Gate Act 1 was out for like 2 or 3 years before they released
That's
the
why
full
it's
game.
like the most polished act.
Yeah.
And like to me, I truthfully don't see that as much different than doing the 3-day access. And to me, it's free fucking money. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, come out with a 3-day and then come out with a 7-day for $200. I mean, fucking get crazy with it.
Yeah.
What does it
Yeah.
matter? Like in a game like EA College Football,
There's not like in a game like Diablo, it
With-
almost
where-
makes a
where you-
little bit more
yeah.
sense because it gives you a leg up to get ready for that end game content.
and they had their race
quicker
to
and
worlds first, and
all of that. EA College Football, it's like
You couldn't play career mode early.
yeah, like with the terrible
Like,
voice
oh,
acting they
damn.
probably will have.
Yeah.
The story mode.
and it's like it's literally a fucking gambling game. It's disgusting what that game is, or EA and
EA, I'm not saying
Madden.
it's not, EA is not greedy, but also they're a for-profit company. If they see a
100%.
way to make money, then they're going to make the money. And
Yeah.
if you don't like it, the only way to get somebody to stop doing something is stop participating.
convince 2.2 million people not to
Yeah.
do that.
Obviously,
But it's literally free money. It costs them nothing. And in
you're
fact,
in the minority actually if you
Yeah.
don't like that, because 2.2 million people, and that's not a big enough of advantage on the rest. Like 3 days, that's not enough to be like, I didn't like it, but I felt like I had no choice. I had to play it that 3 days early.
Yeah, it's not like
Like-
a month early or whatever where it's like the game is dead by the time
Yeah.
you play it. Like this, it's one of the, it's college football. It's part of like the Madden series or whatever. This game is going to have a shitload of people playing it for the next 12 months until the next one drops, and then we're back at this. It actually is a strategic benefit too. Like this helped Diablo at launch when because it actually alleviates server pressure, because instead of the flood of everybody going into playing the game, they can get their 2 million people that pre-ordered it, onload them and see how their servers are and make sure everything's going well, and then ingest the rest of the people 3-4 days later. Business-wise, EA made the move, but personally, I'm not going to spend $30 for a 3-day early access. See, and that's exactly, that's the point, right? Like, you don't find it valuable, so you don't. I don't know if you bought it, you probably didn't, but like, you didn't buy that, so it didn't affect you in any negative way.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. What's your take?
We didn't hear
Yeah.
you. Would you?
I'm the same as you guys. It business-wise makes sense, and it doesn't hurt me. It doesn't. I mean, and I don't care about games like that. So even if it was like, for example, let's say Mass Effect, and I got to play it 3 days earlier, I wouldn't care. Like,
Yeah.
it's Mass Effect. You can play story mode 3 days
Yeah.
earlier. And, well,
And
yeah.
they've been doing this shit forever too. It's
Yeah.
like pre-order to play early, and it was like, well, wait, if so what do you mean? What's your actual launch date? Like pre-order to play 3 days early, and it's like, what?
I would have pre-ordered
game?
to play early a lot of games actually. Now that I think
I
about
know,
it.
but it's like the same thing. They didn't charge you. It just
Yeah.
was so it was like, well, wait, is that really the launch date then? Because if I pre-order it, then I don't know. It seemed weird, but
$30
now they're just charging. Now they're
yeah,
monetizing
$30 seems
it. Egregious.
egregious for that. That's half the price of the game for 3 days.
$10 a day.
$10 a day.
Well, they sold a super pack
Of course they did.
for $150, and you
Oh,
get
hold on.
Jesus
you
Christ.
get Madden
What?
and college football
What?
and the early access.
And the Warzone crossover.
Yeah.
Hey,
with
that's
the
coming
college
to Game
football
Pass. Warzone Modern Warfare 3 coming to Game Pass, but it's
Yeah.
not Modern Warfare 3 remake. It's its own game. And
Who even knows? They're coming out with Black Ops 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't even
Who
know.
the
Can't keep
fuck?
up. So yeah, it's egregious. I would never buy it, but I'm not going to fault them because obviously 2.2 million people cared enough to do it.
Yeah, my only
So-
issue is I don't understand football fans that play those games. Like I don't.
it's a gambling addiction.
And I just. I
My
hate
brother-in-law plays it extensively, and he's gotten a lot better. Well, so he says, but he's gotten better at not, like when he was younger, he was big time spending a lot of money on the game, buying these cards. So the way the game works is you have your career mode or whatever, and you kind of build your team, and then you take that team and you can play online. But you have to get these cards that then like have higher stats and ratings for certain players, and you can buy these card packs through. I think you could earn them in game, but it takes forever.
very
obviously.
slowly.
Or you can spend real money and roll on these packs and get 99 player X, 99 player Y, 99 player Z, and all of a sudden your team is better, and now you can win more online matches or whatever. And it's like this very addictive gotcha style game. Like that it's predatory because who plays those games?
If I
Fucking
was
kids, man.
if I was into a game like that, I could easily fall for that.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm very susceptible to spending money in games.
But my
So-
thing is
$30
like
skin?
the games that I've spent money on, like that have a gotcha style system, I won't do it unless I know the longevity's there. From my understanding, I've never played Madden because I'm not interested in that stupid gambling. You restart every game.
yeah,
you
nothing. I
lose-
mean, it's a 12-year cycle. I'm a 12-month cycle.
Yeah, so you lose all those card backs. You lose that money you're putting in versus like a gotcha game that I play with like Dragon Ball, right? I've had this game for fucking 8 years. So the money I put in it still has value. It's still carrying on. I didn't lose because they didn't upgrade the game and say, yeah, all that money you spent, it's worthless now. Pay more money. I don't get that. I don't.
It's like players. It's so funny because they're
Especially
like,
with a 12-month life cycle.
Call of
that's
Duty
so
2
short.
sucks. Oh, Call of Duty 3 sucks. It's not like Call of Duty. But no one ever says like Madden 23. Like it's because it's tied to the year. It's not tied to like the generation, but it's the same game.
Yeah,
I think
same game, but you don't get the same. You don't get to keep your cards. That doesn't make sense.
It's just a monetization machine. That's all it is.
I mean, it doesn't make sense for you. It doesn't really make sense for me either. But like, if people enjoy it, I kind of understand it. Like,
Millions of people enjoy it.
I am of the mindset, honestly. Anytime I've spent money on a game, I never look back. If it's something
in the moment.
Yeah, I'm
doesn't
like,
matter.
it doesn't matter. Like I have enough money to buy this. I'll buy it, and it is what it is. I don't buy something and think, man, I could have really used that $30 on DoorDash instead.
See, but you don't play games where it's a constant cycle like that.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, I played Destiny, and there's a lot of
Destiny
things.
is.
There are a lot of
actually-
things that I've bought on Destiny that I've not really taken advantage of, and I'm okay with that because it was a choice I made. And it's
Destiny
mostly
has
every time
so
you
many
try to get me to
expansions.
play.
Yeah, but like
And
you
I've-
buy those with the understanding, at least at that time, that you're going to be playing this and you're going to be able to play it.
I've never gotten to a cycle where I've played Destiny for even close to 12 months solid. So if I could buy something and I get a solid 12 months of enjoyment out of it, that's good enough for
Yeah.
me. I mean, that's
It definitely makes sense from a lot of. I mean, I know people who
most I'll
that
ever
is
play
their main
Destiny.
game.
Yeah, mostly I'll ever play Destiny at a time, maybe a couple months at the most.
Yeah.
And it's very like I've spent money on Destiny. I've played it for a month and moved on. Never touched it again. And that is just as much a waste of money as
I guess I don't know because like I feel like it's still different because Destiny, you know what you're buying. It's not RNG.
yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah, most of the time, unless you buy like the Eververse box or
Oh,
whatever.
I bought never first
You-
box.
Okay, well, but yeah, I feel like with Madden, it's an RNG every single card pack, and it has no.
Yeah.
To me, it's still.
I'm not
different
saying
enough.
I would do that, but it's
Yeah.
just it is comparable to ways I've gamed and other things in the past. To where like I don't think that I would. It's not completely alien to me why someone would do that. Is all I'm saying.
Did you ever spend money in Grand Theft Auto Online?
No, I never played Grand Theft Auto. I beat Grand Theft Auto, but I have never once logged into Grand Theft Auto Online. It's never appealed to me. I did try and get into Red Dead Online a little bit. I didn't have that much fun.
It was so grindy.
Yeah.
Online for Red Dead?
Oh yeah,
What?
it was like so in the real game, like the normal game, there would be a pistol. Say and like so it's in the 1900s, right? So the pistol was like $6 or whatever. They like did the math and it was accurate to the time.
Yeah.
Same pistol and online was like $500. And you're like, "What?" And so you had to grind your ass off to get anything.
Where you would
Or
take your open
you could-
world currency and take it into.
Yeah, or it would take $500 and say you earn like 15 probably less. You earn like $5 a mission or something. I don't know. Or there's gold. Gold you can buy with real money, and you can buy this pistol
Wow.
with gold.
I spent money on GTA and Red Dead. Okay. So both the online experiences. What up, Daniel? Both online experiences. So, okay, is a pistol, like, there was other things that,
Like outfits,
so if you played
horses,
a full playthrough and ended the game, like, what would you end the game with? Like, a couple $100? So you
like
could,
the regular game or online?
no, well, I thought you said
Online was
from-
separate from the
Oh,
campaign.
Yeah.
I thought you could play them.
No.
Online
and
had a
then-
campaign, a loose one, but the story was completely separate from the main game.
Yeah.
And Red Dead Online was for me ultimately it had nothing to do with like the greediness of Rockstar. Like it just was boring
Well, and I
to
think
me. Like
if all three of us played, of course, any game we play together
you
is
can play
fun.
the shittiest game
Yeah.
if you're playing with friends. You
But
can
I
have a
think
good
that
time.
would be fun to play like Red Dead with friends that are playing at the same time because the online is very free. Like you can hunt, you can camp, you can fish. Can you fish?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can sell your pelts and stuff. So like a good pelt.
You can run up on enemy posses.
Is Red
and-
Dead Online like the same thing as GTA? For some reason, I'm thinking it's like instanced combat. Like
No, it's open world.
Oh,
There
that's really
is
cool.
instance combat. Like
Okay.
you go into
Like
like
a
a death
PvP
match.
zone.
It doesn't have much of a community anymore because Rockstar kind of fucked themselves over with the
the
way that-
economy.
Did they or
Yeah.
did they like their model of GTA and just funnel everyone into that game?
They tried to make it GTA style and it just didn't
Killed the
work. It's
scene.
not the same type of thing, you know.
Well, GTA 6, that's coming out soon, isn't it?
2025, I think.
Oh, is it? I thought it was this year.
I think 2025.
Yeah.
Well, he with years. it'll
You know,
be
I don't even
spot
think
on.
this might be controversial. I think
Yeah,
there-
2025.
I think there might be people that say this, but Red Dead 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I really don't think the gameplay is that good. The
You know
gameplay
what?
is very clunky.
I agree
I've
with
heard
you.
a bunch of people actually say
Yeah.
that.
Like-
Reading it online.
Well, and to me, I'll see if you agree with this too. The mission structure is really outdated.
Oh yeah.
It's like 95% of the missions is all right. You pick up a mission here, take your horse 6 miles over here, talk to this guy,
Come back.
do some shooting, go
Come back.
back. And that's what you do for all the game.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, you're gonna go on this long horse ride,
And
and it's beautiful, yeah.
and and for me the story is
the
just
voice
that
acting,
incredible. The
yeah.
voice acting, it's just on its own level to where you put up with that. But because of that, I've actually only beat the story in Red Dead once.
Yeah.
Because the gameplay, it's almost like I was putting up with the game to enjoy the game.
Yeah.
if that
shit.
makes
Do
sense.
you like another aspect I love of it, Kyle, is the freedom in the world.
Yeah.
Like I'll sit there.
I've
or-
played an endgame a lot.
Yeah.
Where I've just run around, but I've never played the story from scratch.
Yeah, like when I first got it, Billy, I spent a good long time after I beat the game hunting, camping, fishing. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want to start the game over. I just enjoyed living in that,
that
world.
world.
And they give you a lot of freedom to do stuff, to do cool stuff. Like you can hunt, you can.
And you never thought to
skin.
do that like online, like with other players, like that.
Well, the economy was all messed up. So like, I might be wrong, but an elk pelt, right?
Yeah.
Which in the normal game would get you like $5, or I don't know. It wasn't much, but it was enough. It was enough to where if you grinded for an hour, you'd have quite a bit of money. It was like 50 cents.
No.
So there was no incentive to hunt at all.
Are these prices set dynamically by the player base, or are these prices set just in the
It was
online?
Rockstar.
it was Rockstar
Oh, so there's not like. I wonder why they did that.
because they
Wanted
They
it to
were
be its
hot
own
off the
grind
Trying to
press from-
incentivize people
yeah.
to play
and
heavily.
spend money. Yeah.
And
the
did
shark
it
cards
incorrectly.
were hot off, like they were going off right then, and they were like, well, what if we-
So weirdly, again, speaks to the different types of gamers we are. I have never once played Red Dead and thought this would be more fun if I was playing with friends. I'm 100% satisfied to play that by myself. I'm okay with being in that world by myself. I don't need to have friends there. Like
If I ever fucking,
I'm not a very social gamer, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
If you guys ever caught me in a single player game like fishing, shoot me. I have a brain tumor and there's something wrong with me.
Drop a piano.
There's
on me.
no chance.
No, Billy. At that point,
It's
I'll-
relaxing. I'm fucking fishing.
I'll
Click
hug
a
you.
button.
I just went through a playthrough of LA
Thank
Noire.
you. Wow, you were talking about that actually. a few
Yeah,
episodes
and I
back.
was RPing and like following the rules with driving and shit, and like stopping at red lights and like, and,
They create.
And I was
That
like-
is fun to do.
and I'd be
every
like,
once in a
man,
while.
Billy would hate the way I'm playing right now, and I go through a whole case mission, like being like a true cop and like following all the rules and.
Did you guys ever play APB Reloaded?
I did once actually. Yeah.
That game was pretty. I heard it turned into a total cancer show later on, but
What game?
APB Reloaded.
It was a PC only.
It was I think
All
it was
points bulletin.
yeah.
Ah, yes.
I think it was trying to be. I think it was trying to be an MMO, but it was an online world, and basically it was like GTA.
Cops and robbers.
You would have like these missions going on, and you felt very involved in your world, but then all the while, like you could be doing like a mission, and then fucking drive-by shooting happens, and these guys are just rifling you in the face. And you're like, fuck, and now you have to redo the mission or whatever. It was kind of fun for a good 10 minutes, but the music and the cars were pretty good. That's where I discovered Phoenix, actually. So one of my favorite bands. So yeah, it was That game was like it was like a GTA light.
You ever played Gotham City Imposters? First person shooter. It's set in Gotham City.
Do you role play as a citizen?
That's an actual game.
It is.
I'm not even kidding. It's an actual game where you play as like these Joker followers and Batman followers, and it's a FPS.
Well, but it's
might be
on
probably
It's
pretty
an
good, huh?
online competitive.
Oh, really?
Like
2 players or 1 is Batman.
Bad versus evil.
I don't think it's an asymmetrical. There might be a mode that is, but there's also one where it's like a 10v10.
Yeah.
And I remember this is like 10 years ago when it came out, and I don't know why I'm bringing this up because I don't really know anything about the game other than I played it once, and it was actually a lot of fun. I played it with your brother actually.
Really?
We randomly played it on PS3.
Wow.
Like,
Wow,
that's-
we're going way back.
Yeah, this is more than 10 years ago actually. This was this would have been around 2011, 12.
Wow.
Maybe.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm only bringing that up because you brought up an old game, so I just brought up some random old game.
I don't even know why I played this game, but it was kind of fun to like. It almost was like a Saints Row GTA blend.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. So,
I got a question for you guys.
hit me.
Are you guys like this at all? So when I see like Fallout or any type of game where it's like the setting is a big selling point, you know, it's like the next Fallout is in Florida or wherever, Virginia. A little part of me is always disappointed that I want it to be like where we live. I want it to be somewhere close to here. Like that's why I love Fallout New Vegas so much. Is I'm like,
Because you recognize.
I know it.
It's like 9 hours from here.
Yeah, but like GTA. I mean, I'm not sad. I don't that it's in Florida, but I've never been to Florida.
I think that
Like Red Dead, the mountains are based off the Sierra Nevadas. I'm like,
it looks like it. Yeah.
Okay.
I do feel like
No, I've never had that.
No?
If I want to be
would-
transported to a fantasy world, that's
there
my
have been
idea.
times where I've like thought that our city would be a good setting for an open sandbox GTA style esque game. But I think everyone thinks that about.
Yeah.
I think it's not unique to.
See, I don't really care to role play as like people. I want to have a fantasy.
No.
I like fantasy games better than
you
yeah.
you want to role play?
No, I mean like in this setting, like I want to something that's not recognizable with what I experience in life. I want it to be some fantasy, high level fantasy where there's wizards and shit like that, and that's the setting that I like.
What if there was a game that
High
had,
fantasy settings are generally sci-fi and high fantasy are definitely more intriguing to me than
Yeah.
What if
Like
there
Mass
was,
Effect's fucking cool because the scale and size that like it's really I love that world. That's a fun world.
What if there was a game that had every single thing you love about Guild Wars, but it was set in modern times, in where we live?
City of Heroes.
No, but it was good.
Like it was all the exact same gameplay mechanics for the most part, but somehow they like magic was guns and like they made like you know what I mean like and it was
auto attack is a bullet.
yeah and they set like they somehow
That would
made it
suck,
fit
man.
in a modern environment.
You know what's funny?
No
is
fantasy at all.
I'm not a story guy or anything like that, but like that would ruin it.
That would ruin
Like,
it.
oh, stop these guys from breaking and stealing a pack of cigarettes. Immobilize. You know, like
Pocket sand.
yeah, pocket sands. Let me get on my mount and fucking fly around. Like I don't even.
Your mount would be a car.
Yeah, no. See, no,
Yeah,
no,
Your mount and you have like
No.
you're a wingsuit.
no. Get out of here, man. That sounds like a terrible experience.
I feel like that could be kind of fun.
Yeah, it'd be like Fallout,
It sounds like City of Heroes. Like,
but that had heroes. We're
yeah,
not.
you're talking about superpowers, though.
No,
they
do you mean?
somehow every single
Ability is
ability
now gun or something.
they make somehow realistic. So like
So there's a raid boss.
an
that-
AOE's grenade,
Yeah.
but it has the same effect, does the same damage, but they somehow like reskin it to fit in a more realistic.
So there's a
stun.
raid boss that has like a flame wall that she shoots out with like a flamethrower. So that would just be like a wall of bullets.
It's a
I guess it could still
it's
be
an
be a
army
flamethrower.
of it's an army of tanks that creates one boss, and it like sprays bullets rather than a flame wall.
I don't like it, man. I really don't. I like the high fantasy, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I like there to be, which is, I never really thought about this, but yeah, I prefer the high fantasy. I like the World of Warcraft setting. Like, I want to be
So-
on a different world.
Do you like fantasy better than sci-fi?
Ooh, good
In
question.
gaming, probably yes, but in movies, no.
100%. That's exactly what
Yeah.
my answer would be.
What about in movies? No.
In movies? No, I'm not.
I mean, you do
I
like
have
Lord
to
of the
really
Rings.
buy.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
say
do
Lord of the
have to
Rings.
buy. I have to buy into the world. And for me, like, it has to be really good. Like, as a viewer, you have to get me. You have to introduce me into the world. Lord of the Rings does that fantastically with the first 20 minutes of the movie. A lot of these fantasy stuff, it's just like, oh, here's the world, get used to it, and here's the story.
Like,
narrative. Yeah, you got to get me to kind of buy into why we're there, what it is that's happening, and how it works.
These are the sword.
Knowing what I know about you, even though Lord of the Rings is like your favorite, ultimately you always fall back on sci-fi.
Yeah, I do like I do for
When it comes to
film,
movies,
Yeah,
yeah.
for film, I do like the sci-fi element.
Now,
But-
would you
but
say
I
a
think what-
superhero film?
Spider-Man.
I mean, would you say that's? I mean, it's
so that's what I was
it's
just gonna
fantasy.
say. I think when the best films are when you blend fantasy and sci-fi.
Yeah.
I think those are like, to me, that's Mass Effect, right? You've
Yeah.
got like science fiction, which is like all this really cool human technology, and then you got the fantasy elements of everything. Like, that's peak for me. Like, when you blend those two beautifully, that to me is that's the second chef's kiss on this episode. Like and subscribe.
Smash that like button.
Hit the bell. Ding the dong. You know.
Ding the
Ding the dong.
ding
Get
the
dinged.
dong.
What about BioShock?
Bioshock is so good.
I love BioShock. BioShock 1 and 2 and 3. All of them. Do you have a favorite, Kyle?
You know, I think I'm in the minority, but I really like the third one.
2's my favorite.
I like the twist ending of the third one. I like.
3 is good. I really enjoy 3. Did it get flack or no?
No, it still was pretty universally acclaimed, but I think of BioShock fans, I think that one's like the least.
I know. Did 2? Is 2?
I think 2 is considered the best amongst
Really?
the fans.
Okay. I do like 2. I like Delta.
I only played the first one once, and I went back and played it after. I actually played BioShock 3 first,
Really?
and then I played because I wasn't into the series. Not that I wasn't into it, I just never touched it. And then randomly, I picked up BioShock 3, played it, and I was like, "This is really good." And I went back and played 1, then 2. Maybe
Billy,
that's why I like BioShock 3 the best.
Did you ever play BioShock? Okay.
I've seen the remaster.
Uh-huh.
I watched somebody play through it.
So that technically counts as
so
you playing.
exactly.
Basically. I have to bring this up just because it's one of my favorite theories that I believe in, but I don't think it was intentional. I think they made it intentional. They made it canon. So I will show you guys after this. I might have already told you guys about this, but in BioShock 1, there's a specific section you go to. You hear a noise, right? Kind of sounds like a whale, kind of doesn't. BioShock 3, there's this character, this monster named Songbird. Story stuff happens. Songbird can travel dimensions. Spoiler alert. Or not, damn. Songbird can't. Elizabeth can. Elizabeth put Songbird in the first and second BioShock game. It makes a noise underwater. And they sound so close that I choose to this day to believe that the sound you hear in number 1 is that.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, I don't think it was planned, but I think they did, like, future retcon it, or I don't know. They made it work. They're like, we had that noise.
Yeah, it's like
You never found out what it was, huh? In the first game?
No, it's just a noise you hear, and like we'll look it up after, and I'll show you, and it's really close.
I like when they do that in storytelling where
Mm-hmm.
it's obviously not planned, but they come out with something later on that ties into the earlier to make the story like in canon,
Mm-hmm.
make better sense.
Like to this day, I know in God of War they kind of wrote it off, but I was so intrigued by who blew the horn in God of War 2018 when you're carrying. So in the game, you're carrying Atreus, and there's this horn that summons the giant snake. You're in the game. You're the only one that's ever done it. in like a very important section of the game, you hear the horn. So
Yeah.
somebody summoned the serpent. You don't know who, you don't know why. And they pretty much never explain it. And they, like, I think they interviewed the director and he said, oh, it was Baldur. And it's like, oh,
Okay.
it seemed like a big deal in the game when you hear it.
An example of like in movies where they've done that is they've like retconned to where in Iron Man 2, that kid that's holding he's in the Iron Man mask and he holds that up, and then they've now made it canon that was Peter Parker. Obviously they weren't thinking that
Right.
when they made that, but it makes you appreciate it more that they added that later on in
Interesting.
the story. Yeah.
Well, didn't Star Wars do this with like the
With
whole
everything.
Yeah, right. Where they had that like one throwaway line, like we've stolen the battle plans, and then they end up making.
They
a whole
made a
movie
whole
on
movie
it.
Yeah.
on that one line.
about it was like many rebels died to get these plans. And then that's the story of Rogue One.
Yep.
Yeah. And now the
Crazy.
whole plot line was in that one line. Many rebels sacrificed their lives to get these plans.
Let's make a movie on it.
And you know what? Honestly, out of all the Star Wars films, that one's
A lot of people say it's the best.
that one's in my top 3.
Yeah.
I would say.
Which
A
one?
lot of people.
Rogue One.
Rogue One is really good.
Really fucking good.
I do like Han Solo though.
I like that
Solo.
too. It's definitely in my top 5. No. Just shy of my top 5, I think. But I really liked it.
See, this is a good example. I've always been a Trek over Star Wars guy,
Really?
and I think it's probably because you combine sci-fi and fantasy. I think
Wait.
Star Wars is too much fantasy.
Interesting.
It's
And
too
so-
fantasy heavy.
Yeah, and I think
Doesn't have a good blend.
yeah, and I honestly, I know it's a wild take. I just never felt bought into the world of Star Wars. It almost felt like it threw too much at me too fast.
Yeah.
And I couldn't connect. It was just like, oh God, there's
Space
this,
Wizards.
Yeah.
The Old Republic, or the what's the chancellors and the politics.
Yeah. I just felt like it did a really poor job of world building and great job narratively, but poor job world building. Versus Star Trek, it was like you're on this spaceship and then you get to know these characters deeply. And
I think
then
it's easier
you go
to
to these new worlds.
I do think
every
it's
episode.
easier to build a world like Star Trek because it's based on our own.
It's based in reality.
Than
Yeah.
it is to build an entirely new universe fantasy. Like
That's true.
I think it's not, and this is coming from someone that I'm one of those
Deeply.
people that I was born and raised on Star Trek, and I also have a huge appreciation for all things Star Wars. It's rare that I don't know a lot of people that go that hard into both fandoms like
It's
I do.
usually you pick. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think Star Trek, it was easier for them to build a world that you could relate to because it is based off of our own. And
Well, yeah, and I mean it makes sense with what you were saying with like fantasy in movies and sci-fi is like in fantasy, in order for them to pull it off, you have to understand the lore. You have to understand why these wizards exist. What are wizards? Like it has a whole bunch of stuff to explain versus sci-fi is like, we have
It's
rockets, right? This
the
is just
future.
more evolved rockets. And you're like,
like the lore of Star Trek is just current events.
yeah.
And so that's why
That's true.
it's easier, I think, maybe to buy into it.
Versus Lord of the Rings, which is a much more approachable
Yeah.
universe because there's no like you have a very good understanding of power scale because everyone's really just wielding weapons.
Yeah,
It's
but then
not like the
then with
wizards don't really have they
Lord
don't
of the
surprise you.
Rings, going into it and talking to you guys, like thankfully I had you guys who've read the book a lot or read the lore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still fucking confused by the wizards and what their whole fucking like. There's red wizards, there's blue wizards. Gandalf can only use powers sometimes. So what like that doesn't that seems so confusing. Versus Star Trek, they have a phaser. It's a gun.
Yeah.
It's a gun shoots. It doesn't. Sometimes I choose if I'm going to kill. It's like the gun doesn't choose.
It's not hard to follow the power scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And like Gandalf leveled up. I'm like, what?
Star Trek is especially the original series. It was such a good social commentary
Lucille Ball,
on the times. And actually Lucille
my
Ball.
birthday twin.
A lot of those that era actors and actresses are starting to fade away.
What do you? So as a Star Trek fan, what do you think the newer movies?
I like them. I really do.
I like them too.
Chris Pine did a great job.
I think they're making
Wrath
another
of
one.
Khan.
They
Wrath
are?
of Khan's my
I think it's
favorite.
going to be the
Yay.
last one.
The third one was probably the weakest.
Is
in
that
my
Idris
opinion.
Elba?
That's because
Yeah, I
it
think
wasn't.
so. It followed this girl who I didn't really
Say
feel
what you
like-
want about J.J. Abrams, on
Lens
how he
flare.
fucked over Star Wars or whatever.
I don't think he did. We could go into
He did the first two of the new Star Trek films, and he did them really well. The third one was a different director,
That makes sense.
and I think it did suffer. It had a lot of great moments, but it was weaker for sure. One of the
Did you like Wrath of
best
Khan the
things,
best?
like the OG Wrath of Khan or
No,
Into Darkness?
Oh, was that the? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Beyond is the third one.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Um,
Into Darkness with
yeah, because Benedict
Benedict.
Cumberbatch was amazing.
fucking murdered that
Dude.
role. So good.
Before I get into what I was saying about number
Sorry.
3, no, you're good. I think that one of the it sounds silly to say this about a Star Trek film, but one of the best displays of acting I've ever seen in a movie is when Benedict Cumberbatch, when he's in the prison and he starts going on his monologue about all the wrongs that his people have suffered, and he's like so angry, and then he literally generates a
Times
tear
a tear.
and he times a tear into
That's
his
good.
monologue and then he like quickly gets rid of it and gets back to being angry. That is Oscar worthy acting.
1,000%.
And he will never get an Oscar for a movie like that. But
Yeah.
that is
I watched Sherlock.
incredible.
I watched Sherlock, the BBC
Sherlock's
series,
so good.
because of that scene. Because of Benedict, that was the first time I'd ever seen Benedict Cumberbatch. It was that movie,
I think a lot of people.
and I went and watched Sherlock because of that, and I was like, "This guy's a fucking stud. Who is this guy?" But he times it. He doesn't even look like he's crying, and then summons it from the depths and hits it, and it's like, "Who is this guy?" I was there with him, man. I was there. So good. But anyway,
I
what
love
was you saying
that.
about 3?
3 has the absolute best space station I've ever seen in a movie. The York Station. I fucking love the way that's designed, and it's
it's
the
like
one,
Mass Effect almost.
It's better than the Citadel.
Really?
Yeah, it's like this big giant spherical station. Mass Effect is. I say that, but I think if they were to imagine the Citadel, in like a realistic way, like in a live action movie, I think it would look pretty damn cool too. But I love the way that it's designed, where like the gravity, like it is all on the inside of the dome, and then as you get to the center, gravity gets all like wonky. But York Station is like, that is a really cool station, and it's designed in a way I think that the space station would actually look if they had the technology and power to do that. And I think it looks way cooler than pretty much any other space stations we've seen in film.
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
Going back to Star Wars, because I wanted to add to what you were saying about J.J. Abrams. I don't think it's his fault. The whole what
Star
happened
Wars?
with the new series, because
No.
I blame whoever the
Ryan
executives.
Johnson?
No, I don't even think it's
Don't
Ryan
blame him either?
Johnson. I think
Kathleen
they should have
Kennedy?
either sure, they should have either let JJ do all 3 or let Ryan Johnson do 3. Because what happened, JJ did Force Awakens. They gave it to Ryan for the second one. They gave it back to JJ for the third one, right? I think.
Yeah.
They both had distinct visions, and Ryan had his own that he was setting up in the second one, and then JJ had to come in and try to salvage and like finish his vision from the first movie, but none of it was built on. So I think it was a executive, like they messed up by saying, let's give it to 2 different people who have 2 different ideas. For
So
It's
one.
like
what
the
happened
Snyder edit
is-
all over again.
Yeah.
It was originally going to be it was going to be 3 different directors for 3 films. And the first one, Force Awakens, people look back on it now and they're like, oh, it was terrible. It really wasn't received like that.
No.
Actually, people liked it when it came out. They loved it when it came out. And I like Force Awakens. I
think
thought it
it's
was really
good.
good. I do think it retreaded on a lot of familiar territory. It wasn't too groundbreaking.
It wasn't original.
Yeah,
That's
it
very
wasn't very
nostalgia
original.
bait.
But I thought it was good. So JJ set it up and then he thought he was done. And then so Ryan Johnson took over from that. He took the story in a direction people didn't like. It was still received well by critics, but the audiences at that point were like they weren't feeling it. And then instead of just following through on their plan and getting another one to wrap it up, they like brought JJ back because they were like, oh, well, he can still save it. But it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because
this is mind blowing to me. You know, you're launching you're not going to do a standalone Star Wars film at that point. They know they're doing a trio, right?
Yeah.
How do they not have the vision
Especially
to put that all together?
Especially for a franchise that big.
No.
You're touching, like, it doesn't, like, when they brought back Rings of Power for Lord of the Rings, they funded it for 4 seasons. You know what I mean? Like, how do you not come together and have, like, this vision of how we're going to do it? This sounds so hodgepodge thrown together. There sounds like executives got together, got drunk, and was like, we're going to bring back Star Wars. It's going to be great. No matter what we do, it's going to be a $1 billion idea.
And it was until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't.
It was for...
Well,
the first one made $1 billion. Rogue One made $1 billion. Last Jedi made $1 billion.
Mandalorian,
Like,
popped off. Yeah, I mean,
people
it's just simp to that universe.
I think people are now hyper critical of Star Wars in a way that I think is not entirely fair. I do think a lot of criticisms are justifiable, but I also feel like Star Wars fans, man, are just the worst.
I think any
rival
fan of that level,
Lord of the Rings fans.
Yeah.
yeah, and well, once you get into a fan base or some type of media like that renowned, you're gonna get those fans.
Well,
Like,
Star
it's gonna
Wars
reach
is,
that level.
I think, easier to approach because it's a Lucas brainchild, right? It wasn't like based on written, right?
Yeah, I mean,
he just kind of spawned this out of his own.
it was his
image.
stories, yeah.
Tolkien, there are fans. If you go against like one written line in some book, they're like, this is not authentic to his vision.
Yeah.
They would never have done that because they said this one off comment thing. And it's like, all right, guys.
People are
what
like
the hell?
so, and don't get me wrong. Like I said, I can understand some of the criticisms when it comes to Star Wars, but like people never just accept and appreciate what they're in. And Star Wars has this thing where they look back on things with like such fondness and such memory. Like, God, if only these were
Nostalgia
like,
goggles.
yeah, if only these were like the prequel trilogy. That was peak Star Wars. And it's like a lot of these people don't remember that the prequel trilogy, people hated it.
It's kind of boring.
People hated
That was
the
the
prequel
meme.
trilogy when it
Yeah.
came out. And then all of a sudden now they're like, that was true Star Wars. Why can't we
Shut
get
the
more of that?
fuck up.
If they brought that back, then people would be like, what this is terrible.
Yeah,
And I love the prequel trilogy, but and apparently so
Menace,
does everybody.
really? No.
I love Phantom Menace.
I'm kidding.
I just think that I don't know what it is. People, Star Wars fans especially, they always look back on what used to be as if it was better than what we're getting now.
Yeah.
In some cases that's true. In a lot of cases it's not. Like
I feel like
we've
this
had
is every
Star
fan
Wars
base.
has been back and forth since the 70s. Like they have peaks and they have lows, and everything, it's like they forget anything that's older than 10 years. Star Wars, they act like that was like the best, most incredible
The
Star Wars
Bible.
there was. Yeah, I just don't understand it.
except for Mandalorian season 1.
Season 2 was the peak for me for Mandalorian.
Season 2's good.
Yeah.
Have you guys watched The Acolyte?
I haven't, but it's been really, people are saying, and again, I'm taking this with a grain of salt.
reviews on it.
I'm taking this with a grain of salt, but people are like, this is destroying Star Wars. This is the worst Star Wars
No
I've ever
shit.
seen. Yeah.
I think he was recommending it when we were on our vacation to me to watch.
I know.
I think I might give it a shot.
The only thing I know, and I find it funny. Did any of you guys watch The Good Place?
Yeah.
Mm,
You know, the dumb one. The like,
Oh, he's the bad guy.
he's the bad guy, but
Yeah.
he's like, the internet thinks he's hot now.
I went to that.
And I find that hilarious.
I read this article that was just like Tom Cruise cut him out of Top Gun, and
Really?
like it's a representation of how Asian actors are treated in Hollywood or whatever. And I was like, I mean, yeah, I guess you were cut out. I don't even remember you in Top Gun. I guess his lines got cut. I didn't know he was in that movie.
Me neither.
But that movie, I don't care what you say. That movie was great.
I love that movie.
I don't need. He didn't necessarily say that, but his fandom is kind of like coming out now. Like, see, this is what he could have been for Top Gun, and I'm like, what?
Maybe it just didn't work. Maybe there was a million other reasons.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I just find it funny because The Good Place, he played it very. I liked him as a character. He was like this. He pretended to be a monk, and he ended up in heaven. Well, it's a whole thing, but
Not really heaven.
Not really heaven, but he pretended to be a monk for the first few seasons until he finally he came clean that he wasn't, and he's just like a lazy guy.
Wait,
Stupid.
what?
So the whole plot line is everyone's dead in this show.
Yeah.
And they think that they're in heaven. Spoiler alert, they're not really in heaven. They find out at the end it's not heaven. But this guy was lying about like who he was this whole time, and then it finally revealed like who he was.
Yeah, and he's been pretending to be a monk, so like he's just been quiet. And he's like, he always has like a thoughtful look on his face, and then when he finally comes clean, you realize he's just like a stoner, like bro.
That's so weird.
It's funny, but yeah, now the internet thinks he's hot. So
It's The Good Place is written by the same Mike Schur. He did The Office.
Yeah.
And
it's really good. I enjoyed it.
it's totally a different kind of comedy than The Office, but you can still tell it's written by the same guy. You know.
Well,
Man, what a tangent we went on.
it was a good tangent.
We followed the rabbit hole all the way to
To
The
Star
Good
Wars.
Place.
Yeah, the good place.
Which is not The Good Place.
No, but
Which
to
is
us,
secretly not the good place. We don't know that.
Yeah.
until like season 2, 3.
I thought that was at the end of
Season
season
8.
1.
It might be. Yeah,
I think it was
it
the
is.
very end they realized.
And then the rest of the seasons.
I only ever watched season 1, I think. I
It
lost
was.
it.
It was all right. It was. The other seasons they wrap it up and it's interesting, but it is. I feel like season 1 was the best. Has the most comedy. But yeah.
Well, where can people find us?
They can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, any major podcast listening platform, as well as we stream every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time right here on YouTube.
Yeah, boy.
Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, hit everything.
You like that fade out?
Hit that
Nice.
ding
Yeah.
The
Ding the
physical
dong.
fade out, right?
ding
Yeah.
the dong. Yes.
Not software, folks. All right.
We do all our own effects.
And remember, the good Katie, you get the dub.